Okay guys, today I want to show you how to add and subtract mixed numbers. Now there are a few important things to think about when we're doing this. One is that we will convert mixed numbers into improper fractions. Not all the time, but some of the time. We also always, because we are again in 4th grade, we'll keep the denominator the same. In the future, next year actually, that should change. Add or subtract the numerator and convert and find simplest form. So if you look at this, we're actually using a lot of our former skills. We're converting both directions, we're finding simplest form, and we're adding and subtracting. So this is really cool because you get to sort of look back and see how much you've learned already. Okay, now we'll begin with addition. When you're adding mixed numbers, the first thing you want to do is look at your denominator and then add your numerator. Now 2 plus 4 is 6. Because that gives me an actual fraction and not an improper fraction, this is kind of the easier type. So I will go and begin by saying 8 is my denominator, and 2 plus 4 is 6. Then I add my whole numbers. 2 plus 6 is 8. Now when I'm looking at this, I see again that I have 2 even numbers. If I have 2 even numbers, I generally can make a smaller, simpler fraction. So my factors are 1, 2, 3, 6, and for 8 they are 1, 2, 4, and 8. So 2 is my greatest common factor. Dividing this by 2, 6 divided by 2 is 3, 8 divided by 2 is 4, which means my final answer, erase that, is 8 and 3/4. Now, this one's a little different. If you look at this, our denominator is 5, but if we were to add 3 plus 4, we have 7. Now I found for students the simplest method, I know there's more than one way to do this, but the simplest method typically is to go ahead and convert these both into improper fractions. So if you remember, we would say 5 times 4 is 20 plus our 3. So times 4 plus 3, we now have, a little bit sloppy there, 23 fifths plus 5 times 2 plus 4 is 14 fifths. I'll solve this. My 5 stays the same, and 23 plus 14 is 37. Now, sometimes there will be situations where that is my final answer. However, I would like you always to go ahead and take the next step, convert this back into a mixed number. So remember, we can just go up here maybe and say 37 divided by 5. That leaves me with 7 and a remainder of 2. So box and a bar, denominator shuffle, and we had 7 and 2/5. Now again, I want to check to see, can I simplify this? But in this case, there is no simpler form. Now let's explore subtracting fractions. Now there is one situation in this that we'll see where it's a high frequency place to make a mistake, and I want you to be very careful on that. We do the same thing when we subtract. We look at our denominator and then we say 7 minus 3. Now, the one thing I really want to caution you on is this. Read this in order. Make sure your larger number comes before your smaller number. So I can just do this. This is a pretty straightforward one. 4 minus 3 is 1. My denominator does not change. And 7 minus 3 is 4. Now, when I'm looking at this, I can see that, again, they're both even numbers. That's an automatic. I can simplify. 1, 2, and 4. 1, 2, 5, and 10. These are my factors, and these are my factors. 2, again, is my greatest common factor. So, 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Now you'll notice that I've done this a little differently than I did with the addition. There are lots of ways. You just have to find what works best for you. Now this is an example of what I was just talking about. I have a numerator here that is 2 and a numerator here that is 5. If I have 2 and I subtract 5, I have negative numbers. We don't do negative numbers in 4th grade. So what we need to do again, convert both improper fractions convert both mixed numbers into improper fractions. 6 times, so that kind of looks like a plus sign. 6 times 6 is 36, plus 2 is 38. So I begin with 38 over 6, and I subtract from that 6 times 2 is 12, plus 5 is 17, so I now have 17/6. We begin by going ahead and putting our denominator over here. 38 minus 17. Well, I'm not going to try that one mentally. I like to be sure here. So 8 minus 7 is 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. I have 21/6. Now again, there will be occasions where you'll see that this is the final answer, but I do expect you to convert back into a mixed number. Box, bar, denominator shuffle. Now, 6 goes into 21. Let's do that division problem again. 6 goes into 21 3 times. 3 times 6 is 18. I will subtract from that, and I have 3 as my remainder. So, my whole number goes here, 3, and my remainder is my numerator, 3 and 3, 6. Now here's a nifty trick. 3 is a factor of 6, so I know that 3 goes into 6. I can simply automatically divide both of these by 3 to get simplest form. Now I'm running out of room, so we're going to run this up here. 3 stays the same. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And my final answer is 3 and 1/2. Now, what I would like you guys to do is think of those I can statements. And I know that you can add and subtract mixed numbers. Everything I showed you, you will experience in these 4 problems. Work through them at your own pace. Make sure you understand each one. And then come give me a high five.